Welcome, welcome, welcome on the old coach's couch, girl. How are you doing
I
today?
am well. Thank you for having
You're
me. I'm
welcome.
excited.
Her name is Brandi, everybody. Her name is Brandi.
Hi.
She might be singing a little bit. I could be Monica. She could be
Okay.
Brandi.
The boy is mine, right?
The boy is mine.
Yes.
So, Brandi, what brings you here to sit on the couch and spill the tea with the old coach?
You know what? I just know that this is a great opportunity to have this conversation with you and just to also just have a conversation and educate people about the duality of grief. And I think grief is a conversation that is we don't have often. It's kind of sometimes looked down upon or, it's kind of like hush hush, right?
Yes.
So I can't wait to, dive into this topic.
Oh, this is a good, guys. Now, me and her had a conversation over the phone, and I have to say she's going to dive deep. Okay, so put on your life jacket. 'Cause
Yes.
you're gonna
Oh, I
need it.
love that. Yes. Put on your life vest, your
Yes.
life jacket.
Don't sink. So I want you to explain who Brandi is, because I see Brandi has a healthy resume here. So you tell them who you are.
Yes. So my name is Brandi. I am from New Jersey, Bergen County. I am a certified life coach, a certified spiritual coach, and a trained grief coach. And instead of calling myself a coach, I call myself a spiritual friendvisor.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. And that is a friend who gives advice based on godly wisdom. And so the name of my company is called Pray the Impossible. It's a faith-based service company where we use coaching sessions, events, and books to uplift, encourage, motivate individuals on their spiritual journey. I'm a 3-time selling author. My first book is called Real Talk, A Conversation from My Heart to Yours. That's a 30-day devotional. My second book is called My Way or God's Will, The Choice is Yours. And my most recent book, which was I'd say a labor pain, but not really. It's called My Greatest Loss Turned into a Purposeful Win. Wow. And that is about my grief journey. My father passed 2 years ago from stage 4 lung cancer. And so I turned my pain into purpose. And that's kind of what led me to become a grief coach.
That's beautiful, beautiful,
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you.
I was checking out that bio, and I was like, I gotta dive deep in some of your your bio. Now, you're also a Delta.
Yes, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes, I am.
That's right. Speak that up. Speak that up. And now, in your bio, I was really loving about your books, like #1 seller. So tell us a little bit about your books and which book the #1 selling.
Yeah, so the very first book is called Real Talk. That's a 30-day devotional book. And that book is, I like to call them conversations instead of chapters.
Okay.
So one chapter is called Purpose for the Pain. So I give you a scripture just so you can meditate on the word. And then I give you an inspiration of how can you turn pain into purpose. And then at the end of the book is interactive. I ask you questions, and then it's a journal entry where you can do promptings. And so that book will be 6 years old in September, and that kind of led me or propelled me to start Pray the Impossible. So that book I was writing while I was going through this transformation in 2018. And then the #1 seller, which is the second book, My Way or God's Will, The Choice is Yours, on Amazon. That book is my journey of how I got here, right? Like, you can make plans. You think by this age, you're going to have this. By this age, you're going to accomplish that. Or in 5 years, you're going to have all these things.
True.
And if that's not God's plan for you, it's not going to happen. So I'm sharing my struggles, my challenges, and the obstacles and the plans I made for myself. But in 2018, I had got baptized in 2017.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So in 2018, I was like, oh, God, I want you to use me. I want to learn more scriptures. I want to praise. And, I just thought that's what comes with this, right? And baby, when I say he took me on a journey, on a process that I never knew that I actually needed.
Wow.
I didn't understand it then. So I just, in that book, I'm encouraging people that, you know what, God has a purpose and a plan for all of our lives, and we just have to surrender to it. And it's not to say that the plans you made will never happen. If it's according to God's will, it will. But sometimes God is like, I'm in need of you. So those plans and desires you have, that may have to happen in 5 or 10 years because I need you to do this assignment. I have a task for you.
Amen.
Yeah.
I'm feeling some vibes over here.
Yeah, you know, and that's like who I am as Pray the Impossible, is just basically like praying and believing God for big things, right? Trusting God for big things. Pray the impossible. It's hard, right? Because we'll be like, well, this didn't happen by this age, so I'm giving it up. God is going to put that desire right back in your heart, and you're going to have to keep praying. But it's all about having a relationship with God.
Yes.
I'm not religious. Yes, I go to church. I didn't grow up in the church. I found God for myself in my 20s.
Okay.
And so now it's about, what's your relationship with him? That's what it is at the end of the day.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
And letting God use you, because it's crazy. You know, this world is crazy. So
it is crazy.
You need to believe in me as God, but you need to believe in someone.
Something you have to. You have to. And I always tell people such as yourself, like, you know, what you were just mentioning, like, you have to believe in God. You have to give it to God. You can't. I was just telling a friend the other day, you have to give it to God. You keep trying to do it your way, it's not going to work.
Not going to work.
Until you give yourself to him, it's not going to work, baby.
Listen, and he going to make sure it don't.
You got to tell him, come take that steering wheel and drive me in the direction you want me to.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why he has a purpose for us all. And some people don't understand their purpose. Some people don't understand. They're blinded. Yeah. You know, they're really blinded. And with the grief that you're mentioning, grief comes in different ways and different levels. There's so many ways of grief. And there's one question I wanted to ask you about, like, grief in relationships. People feel like, you know, they're living great, but some people have grief in relationships. Can you touch on that?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was in a relationship in 2018, and I asked God to use me. So at that point, I'm like, oh, you know, we're talking about marriage and kids and just building this life. But I asked God to use me, and he ended that relationship.
He said, that's not for you.
And I did not know that I never grieved that relationship until I learned about grief.
Wow.
And some people think grief is just with the death of a loved one. There's non-death loss, such as a breakup, such as losing your job, losing your home, just losing non-physical things. And so with that relationship at the time, like, I'm grieving, but then at that point, I just turned that pain into purpose. Like, I just got so focused, and I was like, I was writing the book, and I was building my brand and my company. And that relationship, I grieved because I thought that person was coming with me on this journey, because God used him to get me to this place, right? And I'm like, oh, well, okay, you coming with me. And God was like, he served his purpose. And you don't understand that while you're going through it.
You don't.
And so just learning now about the different stages and the emotions and things that come with grief. So when I was grieving my father, that stuff starts to come back up. But yes, you can definitely grieve in relationship, because it's the death of something. It's the death of a foundation that you built with this person, of these relationships, the life that you planned or you envisioned for yourself. So all of those things come along with grieving in a relationship once it ends.
And then sometimes God uses, like, I'm going back to what
it's
you
okay.
said, but I heard something what T.D. Jakes said one day. He was saying, I was standing in the living room, and he said that God is going to send somebody to you to get you out of what you're in, to rebuild you to be that person that you need to be. Then you're going to be there for that person, and then I'm going to separate. God's going to separate you. And I was like, that was like a... If I didn't remember nothing else on that sermon, I remember that. And I know, you know, I'm in the relationship like that right now. I was in one relationship with this one guy. Now I'm in a relationship with this other guy. But that guy came into my life to move me out of this, the 19-year relationship, to show me my independence, to give me back my independence. And I asked God to give me the will, give me the power, give me my purpose, you know. And then this guy, he was in something, but he feels lost, you know. Now that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother. I'm
gonna have to come back to the to the couch. I'm gonna have to come back for that because that's a whole nother. Yeah,
I'm dropping my own tea, but it's the truth. Yeah. It's the purpose of the grief. So I feel like I'm grieving right now. And by you saying what you just said, it clicked. It made sense. So
yeah, and also too, before we move forward, but it also prepares you for the next person, and that next person. Oh, and this just came to me. That next person is the new version of yourself.
Wow.
I like to drop gems, y'all. God enthused messages spoken from my heart. Spiritual friendvisor. We drop gems over here. Yeah. Wow. That literally just came to me. Like, usually it's like God will use that personal situation to prepare you for the next, but sometimes the next is you. And like you said earlier, like that breakup had to really like destroy the foundation that I built according to doing things my way. And rebuilding my life and rebuilding who I am to strive, because we're all human and make mistakes, to strive to do things in God's way, according to God's will for your life.
Wow. This is some deep stuff, guys. Y'all hear this? I'm going all in the mic.
Yes.
And her books, like, I really want you guys, let me have your books. Let me show these books. Real Talk, look on my, you don't see this on the podcast, but Real Talk on, look, I'm messing up. My Way or God's Will. My Way or God's Will. Hello, let me say that again. My Way or God's Will. Hello. You better do it God's way. And Make Greatness Loss Turn into Purposeful Win. Y'all better get these books. Number one on Amazon.
Yes.
And she has affirmation cards.
Yes, I do.
I'm going to have to go in there and purchase me a book.
Yes.
I'm going to have you come do like a book signing or something with your books, because we need this as sisters, not just women, men too.
Men especially.
Children.
Yes.
Teenagers that are able to absorb what you're saying and get what you're saying, because this world is cruel out here, and and there's so much grief going on right now. And that's why I was explaining to some people about you were going to be on the podcast, and I said she's going to speak about grief, and they say, oh, well, why are you going to be just talking about death? I was like, bro, it isn't just about death. This is about relationships. You can be in relationships with friends, your job, like you mentioned, your work. Grief comes in many ways,
and it looks different for everyone.
Yes
It's based on your unique experience with that person, with that situation, with whatever the circumstance is. So we could share something in common, right? We both had a breakup, but my grief journey is going to look different than your grief journey.
Exactly.
And it's not to say your way is right and mine is wrong and vice versa. It's just different because we're two different people going through two different journeys.
Also, how do you deal with children? You deal with children that's dealing with grief of a lost one or life circumstances. Do you deal with children as well?
So I'm just now learning how to deal with that. My audience has always been adults, but now that I'm in this space, I'm actually doing a 6-week coaching program, a youth initiative with the group home, and just learning about these young ladies and what they're going through. And so I tailor it different to them so that they can understand it, coming up with different activities, having them express themselves, teach them about different things. So they have gone through more things than probably we have, and they're like 13, 15 years old, and they've encountered so many different obstacles and challenges, right? So it's just they're still people, they're young adults.
True.
So it's just tailoring it to them so that they can comprehend it. Because I remember at 15, you're going through these emotions and you don't know what it means, or you don't know how to articulate like what this is, like what is grief, why am I angry? So I'm learning, and I'm letting them. That's the thing about too, as a grief coach, you let your client teach you about grief.
Oh, okay.
Because it's different for everyone.
It is.
And I'm just here to support you through it. I'm going to walk with you through the ebbs and flows of your grief journey. So I'm letting the children also teach me, because I'm far removed from being 15 years old, right?
Exactly.
So I'm letting them teach me, and then I'm coming here to support them and to help them.
Okay. Because they're going through a lot nowadays. They have the bullying, the body images,
peer pressure, self-esteem, all of these things.
Some of them are in foster homes and have to deal with so many emotions, and they're grieving that the loss of their parent, because in a living way.
Right.
You know
what
I mean?
Exactly.
Their parents, they're taken away from their parents. Now they're in this home with these people. And I feel like some of the foster parents are just in it for the money and to get a house and to get what they can get. And they're not even thinking about the children.
Right. Yes.
You know, I saw on your Instagram how you had a session with some it was some teenagers.
High
I
school.
thought that was beautiful.
Yeah. And so with them, I was teaching them about youth empowerment. And, in order to empower yourself, you have to love yourself. So I'm teaching them about self-love, self-worth, self-empowerment, things like that, and to get them to the core of who they are, right? To let them know that even though you may, I'm using air quotes, be different is still a good thing. But like, how do you tap into that? And so what I'm doing is I have a program called Navigate the Impossible. And that's traveling on a course, trying to navigate through a life that you planned that is no longer working out the way that you thought. So I'm here to give you the tools and the techniques and the skills on how to navigate through these spaces and places to get to your end result, right? To get to the goal, right? To get to the place of what you just envisioned how your life would be.
True. And I think that's an excellent thing that you're doing with the children, because that's where it starts.
Yes.
So now when I move into adulthood,
right,
now I'm prepared for what I'm empowered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it really does start from when you are youth.
Exactly.
Even
and
as early as 5.
It's planting the seed, right? They may not grasp it right now, but maybe in 5 years there may have been something that I said and I'm like, oh, I remember Miss Brandi who came and spoke, and so
and maybe you can do some follow-up with the ones that did stick it out and said, you know what, this stuck with me. What you instilled in them, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Because kids need that nowadays, because if we had more of you in the world and wanting to tap in on these children, because just because you think, oh, they smart and they sassy,
right,
they're grieving a lot of things. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And then if you're walking that journey and you give them like this 6-week course, you're walking that journey and then you do another follow-up with them. I'm going to give you all another 3 months and see where we're at, and see if you still need my guidance, because then we won't have the gangs, the girls thinking that, I see girls out here thinking that they need to get butt and lips at 15. And tell me, what are you been talking about?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So it's from when I was there, it's so different, right? So that goes back to turning pain into purpose, right?
Yes.
It's I think what people don't understand, not always able to comprehend, or just can't grasp, that what you're going through is not about you.
No, it's not.
It's not about you. God uses you to then go out and to help other people. It's funny because today during church, my pastor said, you have to, what did she say? Something about like being wounded, but still going out to heal people. So in your pain, turn that into something. And that's a part of like the grief journey, is a lot of people don't know what to do with those built up emotions and frustration and anger and this. It's like what you're going through, turn that into something, because I guarantee you there's someone who is going through it right now, or they're getting ready to go through it. Yeah. And you just were the example of going through it first to then reach back and help people.
Gotcha. Now, how do you coach someone that is now we're going back into the adults. We're going back into the adults.
That's fine.
Because you've gone through all this stuff through your childhood. You bring your childhood stuff. You lose parents. You just don't let go.
Yeah.
Like, how do you direct people and guide people to see their purpose in trying to help them or coaching them to let the shit go? Excuse my language.
No, it's okay. It's hard to let go because you got to think about it. This person is 30, 40, 50, 60, however old they are. We get set in our ways. And sometimes we're not open to still learning and to unlearn and to relearn things, right? And as far as purpose, I give the example of I figured out my purpose in 2016. I was like, I love helping people. Like, I want to be, what did I say? I said I wanted to work with women. I wanted to, at that point, I said I wanted to be like a Christian counselor. All of these things. And I'm remembering what I enjoyed as a child. I'm remembering the things that I said I wanted to do. And so I didn't start walking and living in my purpose until 2018. So it was a 2-year journey and process from the time I realized what my purpose was to actually walking into it. But I just tell people, like, to sit and think about, like, what are some things you wanted to do as a child? Like, what are some things that you enjoy? What are some things that you're passionate about? And what are you gifted at? What are you talented at? And 9 times out of 10, your purpose is found in those areas.
Okay.
Right. I remember in high school, I said, I want to host 106 in Park for y'all who may not remember. It was it was on BET, and it was the music video show. And I was like, I want to host 106 in Park. That's what I wanted to do.
You brought
right.
it back.
Yeah. And so I said, I wanted to do those things. Right. But now I'm hosting events.
And there
I
you
have
are.
Public speaking, right?
That's your 106 in Park.
That's my 106 in Park. I had a podcast. So the idea of what you think is going to be is not going to look like what you think, but it's going to still play out in a way where you're like, wow, I remember that. I said when I was little, I think I said I wanted to be a teacher. I'm teaching through coaching.
It's just in a different way.
It's just in a different way. It's in a way that's purposeful. Not to say that being a teacher isn't, but God is using it in my purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it. Now, another big one. So I also had a conversation with people, and I said, you know what? That makes sense, what she said. And I'm going to say, when I was questioning you about what does duality.
The duality of grief.
I keep messing up.
It's
now, where I
all
get
right.
duality from? Where I get that from, y'all? But no, so duality of grief. And you said it's being happy and sad. Then I was like, because some people, because sometimes I even say that. I was like, why am I feeling, I'm so excited and happy, but why do I have that sadness? And I was like, is that damn menopause? Like,
right, like
creeping
what's
in,
going on?
because menopause can play a big part in stuff. But I was like, why am I happy, but I'm sad?
Yeah.
Or I'm feeling some kind of way. I just can't put my finger on it. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So as I became a trained grief coach and learning about grief, there are different stages of grief. There's anger, there's shock, there's denial, there's acceptance, and then there's like bargaining when you say like, oh, maybe if I was there, or maybe if I answered the phone, or maybe if I didn't do this, then this wouldn't have happened. And so grief is an emotional roller coaster. Gotcha. So yes, I lost my dad. I accepted that he passed, right? Like, okay, you smoke cigarettes, so lung cancer isn't too far-fetched from getting lung cancer. It's like, okay, I was able to accept that. Then now I'm going through the grieving cycle. He passed in December. His birthday is in June. When June came, I remember I used to count every Friday. Wow. I wore the same outfit every Friday. It was a black Pray the Impossible hoodie and black sweatpants. That was what I had on when he passed, and that was just my comfort. I'm still mourning and grieving, but when June came, I said, I want to be happy. I don't want to keep crying. I want to enjoy my summer. I want joy.
Yes.
back.
That's what he probably wants you to do.
Exactly. So I'm still mourning because it's only been 6 months, but I asked God for joy, and he gave me joy.
I love it.
Right? But I would still be triggered and cry at times. It didn't mean that I didn't miss him or love him any less because I was choosing me. I was tired of crying and counting the Fridays and counting the 3rd of every month. Like,
wow. That is a lot of grief you was putting on your own self.
Yeah, right. But it was just like, something with dates and numbers. It's just something. I'm like, okay, it's the 3rd. It's the 3rd again. Oh my gosh, it's 6 months. Oh, it's his birthday. It's Father's Day. All in the month of June. I want to go out. I want to go on vacation. I want to go away. I want to enjoy. And so I think we put guilt on ourselves in grief. And I think society makes you think that with grief, you have to be heartbroken. You have to be, your world is crumbling and torn to pieces, and there's no smiling, there's no laughing. Like, there's people who, how are you still going out and smiling and posting on Instagram and you just lost a parent? Who said I can't do both?
Exactly.
You don't know what I'm going through at home. I'm just posting on Instagram what I want you to see.
Exactly.
You don't know that maybe I just cried 5 minutes before I posted that picture, but now I have joy to comfort me in those moments.
Exactly.
And not just with death, but even with like a job loss. Like, you're grieving that, but then it's like you might find your strength back and say, you know what, maybe this happened for a reason. Let me go switch up my resume. Let me go network with other people. And that's just the duality of grief. That's just that's life.
This is true.
There's light and dark. Right? You can't experience sunshine without rain.
This is so true. You
can't experience a praise without pain. Like, that's life. And that's what is the duality of grief.
Wow. This is serious, y'all. Didn't we say we was diving in deep?
Yeah, dropping some gems.
So I was also speaking. I was just talking you all up.
Oh, thank you.
I was talking to the ladies yesterday. We was just having group, women work group stuff. And I said, so it's amazing how when we're American, right? And we have the funeral and we all over the casket, and now we all have to just be so sad. Yeah. There's nobody's taking your sadness away. Nobody's saying the absent of the body, and you're not going to ever see that person again when they close the casket or they get cremated. You're never seeing them again. I lost my grandfather, who was very close to me, and I'm his elder grandchild, and I was his hip. Where I was, he was, right? So, I lost my grandmother. I lost people that are really close to me. My uncle to lung cancer, Sorry. And so I said, why do we grieve differently than my Caribbean people? They're grieving, but they're grieving a whole different way. That's how I want my people to grieve when I'm gone. Do a celebration. Celebration of life. That's what it's called.
That's what it is, a celebration of life. And I know my father was a life of the party. He told my mother, he and that's the thing, some people, but he knew he was going, right, in the final days. And he told my mother, like, I want a party.
See?
And so he was cremated. We had a memorial service. Right after the memorial service, we had a party. We had a DJ. We had drinks. It was a turn up. And we smiled. There was no crying at the party. We was like celebrating. Like that's the duality of grief, right? Yes. We had the memorial service. Of course, there's tears and carrying on and all that stuff. Then right after that, we turning up.
That's how we're supposed to do it.
It's a celebration of life. And I feel like since COVID, life is getting shorter and shorter, right? The time is flying by. Life is getting shorter and shorter. We're not here for a long time.
We're not. And we're living in the last days.
We're not here for a long time. So while you are still here on earth, we all have to go, right? We're all going to go. But while you are here, celebrate and honor that loved one.
Yes, please do.
And that's about turning your pain into purpose, right? Celebrate them, love on them. And that's another way for me at least, that's how I'm still keeping his spirit alive.
Because he was a party guy, right?
He was a party guy. Listen, we turning up.
That's
how I feel, his presence. And I think we just need to learn about grief because, and I talk about this in my book, that I was never taught what grief is. I don't think my family ever knew what it was. So for me, grief was, all right, somebody passed. I don't go to school for the whole week because we at my great-grandparents' house trying to figure out the funeral arrangements, giving people time to get up here. We're done for a week. Then once the casket or whatever, the services are done, you go back to your regular life. But what people fail to realize is grief is starting right after that. The mourning is starting right after that. You're going through these emotions. That's why people, are drinking and doing drugs and whatever it is, your coping mechanism to cope with the pain, because you were not taught, listen, once after death, like there is still life, but you're going to go on this roller coaster of emotions. And then other things are coming up that you have suppressed, these other feelings. And so, so I'm a advocate for celebration of life.
I love it.
And not to say you won't be sad. And the sadness comes is because you may miss them, or you didn't have a chance to say goodbye, or you're missing the memories of them not being there when the new memories and milestones come.
Yes.
I follow this page on Instagram. It said something about like it's a grief page, and love is it says something about love being like the extended form of grief. Like we grieve hard because we loved hard.
Yes.
And so like you're going to always grieve them or grieve whatever because you loved that much, that person that much, or whatever it was.
Wow. Grief is something.
It is.
You said different levels.
It's different levels. It's different for everyone, but yeah.
And let's go into real talk. Tell me your best chapter in real talk.
Ooh, what was my best chapter in real talk? Honestly, I think one of my favorite chapters was I had to pick the book up because I gotta remember. It's all right. I gotta pick the book up, but I think one of my favorite chapters was it might have been the first one. It's conversation number 1, and it's called God Will Show Up and Show Out. And so I start with how I just started going to church, just finding my footing, finding my relationship with God, and I owed the IRS $3,000 because I had a job at the time where I didn't know that I had to put money aside for taxes because they didn't take taxes on my check. So anyway, long story short, started this new job, and this girl that I went to school with, college with, who got me the job, I took her position. She was young, but when I say into God, into the Lord, into the church, like she was like one of the elders in the church, but she was so young, and I'm just like, wow. So I'm telling her, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to find a part-time job. Anyway, the next day she pulls me into the kitchen, and she's like, Brandi, Jesus died on the cross for me, and there's no way that I could ever repay him. So here, she gave me $3,000.
Whoa.
To pay for my taxes.
Wow.
I'm in my early 20s.
Wow.
So was she, and giving me $3,000, and I'm like,
where is this coming from?
God will show up and show out. That was my very first testimony.
Wow.
My very first testimony. And I will never forget that.
Wow.
And so I wanted to show people, and now as I'm saying it, God's going to show up and show out for you. Whatever it is that you need, he's going to send the resources, the provision. He's going to send people to bless you. And you don't have to be so deep into God. I wasn't deep into church. Like, I'm just going to church for the first time, learning about God. But he did that so that it could build my faith to trust him. Now, do I always trust? Listen, I'm human. I'm like, God, what we doing here? Yeah. So this don't look like what you said. But yeah, I just wanted to encourage people that no matter what you're going through, God's going to show up and show out for you. And it's going to be more than you could ever think, dream, ask, or even imagine. And it's going to come in a way where God's going to blow your mind. Yeah.
I need God to come on in.
Right.
Come and
God,
step on these toes, hands, tap me on the shoulder, something. Come over here and bless me, Father. Bless me. Yes. Now your third book.
Yeah.
Your new one that's out there on the market. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is my labor of love. They were all labor of loves, but that goes into the duality of I am grieving and mourning, and I'm writing a book to help other people with their grief.
That's a blessing. God sent you to do that. He wanted you to do that.
Yeah.
I better get that book.
And so, yep, you can go on praytheimpossible.com, and also it's on Amazon. So with that book, I was actually journaling my grief journey. I'm a big journaler.
Love that.
And so I'm journaling since he passed, like the day he passed, I was journaling, like the morning of journaling. So I'm just writing things. I'm going back. I'm posting things on Facebook on his page, like, because that's where we would comment. Doing that, I'm looking, old Facebook memories are coming up. And then I don't know, I just got a notebook, and it hadn't even made a year yet. I think I started writing the book November. Yeah, it was 11 months after. And then I just started writing, and I wanted to tell people how God showed up in my grief. And you mentioned something earlier about how people grieve differently, right? And you said that, once the casket closes, like, you will see them again. But here's the thing. You have to believe it, right?
Yes.
Like, there's a difference between grieving with God and grieving without God. So when you grieve with God, that's where the hope comes from.
Yes.
Right? He says, for we don't grieve and mourn like those who have no hope, because you're going to see them again.
Yes, you are.
But if you don't have that hope, if you don't have that faith, if you don't have that belief, your grieving journey and process is going to look completely different.
Yes.
Completely different. And so, and here I'm showing people, like, God showed up. Or somebody told me, who lost her father, didn't know her from a can of paint. We never met, but we're friends on Instagram. She lost her father, I think, when she was, like, younger. She's like, you're going to start to see signs of him. And literally, like, I would see a rainbow, his song, his favorite. I would get in the car, his song would be on the radio.
So
I would see his birthday, and that carried me through, like, every day. I remember one day, it was 7:00 at night. I said, sir, you did not show up yet. Hold on. And then I was watching something on TV, and then, like, in the credits, I saw, like, his name.
Oh, see.
And I was like, all right, boo. I called him boo. I was like, boo, don't play with me. But I wanted to show people that when you grieve with God, he will comfort you.
Yes, he will.
And he will mend your broken heart, right? Like, and a lot of people say time doesn't heal. And I challenge people in the book to reconsider how you look at that, right? Because how many times have we fallen down as a kid? We scraped our leg. Maybe you broke your arm.
And you healed. Or you had surgery. You might be uncomfortable right now, but you healed.
Right? Like, I can look like I burned myself. I'm showing her my little burn mark. I burned myself on Thanksgiving. I was taking something out the oven. That was in November. I had a scab. And it's healing. And it's healing. And yes, the wound, the scar is still there. The death still happened. The loss still happened. It's to show me that it happened, but it's also showing me that as time is going on, it's healing, it's mending. But people don't understand that, because some people get stuck in the day, the minute, the hour that it happened, and they don't know how to navigate through life without. That's when time, and this is my opinion, and I'm observing, I'm learning, and I'm speaking from a person who has experienced time healing.
Gotcha.
And it's not to say the pain of the sting doesn't go away. It lightens.
Whoa.
It lightens. Grief is heavy, and it lightens over time. Will you still be triggered sometimes? Absolutely.
Of course.
But it gets lighter. But here's the thing, too. With time healing, you have to put in the work. Are you putting A&D ointment on here?
Exactly.
On that scar?
Did you put
Are you going to therapy to work out your arm that you just broke? Like, what work are you doing to play a part in your healing journey? And it takes time. And time looks different for everyone.
Everybody is different.
Everybody is different, but what the question becomes, what are you doing with the time? And not to rush your grieving process, but there comes a time when you have to sit with yourself and say, remember what I said earlier? I got to the 6-month mark and said, I want to be happy. I don't want to cry anymore.
You want to just keep.
I don't want the anxiety.
So,
I don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Because that's only digging in your and going deeper into a depression.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing.
That's
like
different.
Some people do that.
So it's you have to play a part in your healing work. And so in my book, I'm telling people how God showed up. What was I doing? Like literally, and this is how I got to become a grief coach is literally 5 weeks after my father passed, my sorority sister called me crying, asking me to pray for her because her mother went into cardiac arrest.
Ooh.
Then I was at her mother's house. She had came up because she lived in Atlanta. Her mother lived in New York. Came up, was, spending time with her. She got the phone call that her mom was now brain dead.
Ooh.
And I'm 5 weeks into my grieving journey. And she's like, Brandi, I am so sorry. I hope this didn't trigger you.
Mm-hmm.
I am so sorry. And it was on a Friday.
Oh, wow.
Around the same time my father passed.
Isn't that ironic?
And I'm like, God has me here for a reason. I said, I'm new to this, but I could tell you what I've been doing these past 5 weeks. And every month after that, someone that I know personally lost a parent. I found myself pouring into people.
Wow.
The 6-month anniversary, one of my good girlfriends, her aunt passed, and I facilitated her aunt's funeral.
Wow.
Like I was up there praying and leading it because they did, I was the closest thing because I was the closest thing to, I'm not a minister or a pastor or anything like that, but I was the closest thing to like leading the prayer and things like that. How am I up here right now doing that 6 months later when 6 months ago I was on that first row?
Because that's who? The man.
Exactly. And that goes back into the duality of grief. I'm still grieving and I'm pouring into people because guess what? God sent people to love on me, to pour into me, and I'm pouring from my overflow.
That's
to now go back. And so that's how that's how God set me up to be a grief coach because I was already coaching people through their grief and didn't even know it.
And what did you say? You wanted to be a teacher?
Hello.
It's all there.
I said, all of these things tie into each other.
You're not standing in the classroom, but you're standing here teaching others.
Exactly. And so that goes back to like your purpose, and your purpose shifts and change as you continue to grow. Like God gives you new tasks. Like there's always a season and a reason for everything, right? There's a season for everything under the sun. So now this is my season to focus in on the grief, non-death loss, and death loss.
You got my hamsters going. Let me ask you this question. So I know someone that recently lost their mother, like in November. Was it November? Yeah, I think it was November, December. And they said that, why haven't I cried yet? Why didn't I cry yet? Everybody else cried.
Yeah.
My sister cried. My brother cried. My nieces and nephews, they cried. Why didn't I cry? Yeah. Why do you think you have an answer for that one? Do you think it was guilt? Do you think it was?
It's funny that you say that.
But they were very close to their mother too.
Yeah.
So.
I have a client who, she's like, she didn't, and she lost her mother too, and she grew up not crying. And some people, I'm not saying this about your friend, but some people, and I've experienced this too, I was never a big crier. And so I've cried more in the past 2 years than I've cried in my whole life. But we suppress these feelings. We suppress these emotions. Sometimes people think crying makes us look weak. But crying is so therapeutic and it's healing.
It is.
And so she may still be in, I'm just saying from what you're sharing with me, I don't know if she may still be in shock.
It's a guy. It's a guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. He may still be.
But he cries. He cries for other things. And you don't usually see men cry.
Yeah,
so.
He may still be in shock, denial, or it's you're still trying to process this, and he may have his moment where he has this breakdown. And sometimes we also busy ourselves, right? It's like, okay, well, I handled all the services thing. Okay, I got to get back to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. We don't make time to actually sit and grieve. And men normally women are more emotional than men, right? Men are very strong. Like, I'm a man, I gotta hold it down. And we don't allow ourselves or give ourselves the grace we need to cry. He may have his moment. It's November, right? It just happened in November. It's February.
You still.
This grief journey it's a long journey. So he may have his moment. But yeah, and that's the thing. Grief is different. So he may not be at that place right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, he holds on to everything.
And that could be it too. So if he's holding on
way too much from the childhood to this.
So it's deep. It's deep.
And then he was like, my mother wasn't that mother that would like hugs and like,
oh gosh,
or to say I love you.
I understand.
But he loved his mother.
Yeah,
I understand. What I mean?
Yeah. That plays a part in it too. So you get used to just like, okay, if my mother wasn't nurturing, motherly, hugging me, like you still kind of carry that same stance even
and maybe that might be some part of his grief.
Yeah.
Maybe. Wow. Well, this has been an interesting topic. I'm love to have you back again. And I need you to tell everybody where they can find you. I need you to, again, talk about your books. You have some affirmation cards.
Oh, I didn't even get into the grief affirmation card.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to get into the we got to get into the cards because we need those affirmations.
Yes. So the grief affirmation cards, God got me out here working, y'all.
You might have to pick one out for me so I can sit.
We could do one. We could definitely do one. So the intro card says, whether you are experiencing the death of a loved one or non-death loss, job loss, breakup, financial hardship, identity loss, etc., grief is grief. I pray these grief affirmations help you to navigate what seems impossible, give you peace, and bring you comfort on your grief journey. And then I put the quote, I am not a grief expert. I have experience with grief. And so I give you a grief affirmation and then I give you an activity after. So I'll just read this one and then I'll let you pick one. So the affirmation is, I am working to integrate moving forward in my new reality without the physical presence of what or who I lost.
Wow.
The activity is write down action steps you can take to move forward.
I like that one. Maybe I don't even have to pick one. That one was for me. And Chantel can tell you that because we had a conversation before you came in. That hit the spot. Wow. That hit the core.
Yeah.
That hit the core.
Right? So I'm giving you an activity so that you can navigate through that second, that moment, that month, that year, whatever it looks like. And this goes back to what I was saying. We have to do the work.
We have to, people. If you don't do the work, work without.
Right. Faith without works is dead. So you have to do the work. Like oh, God, I want this. But he's looking like, so what are you going to do? You got to play a role. You got to partner with him and work with him on this grief journey, on this healing journey. I promise you, it gets lighter. And this just pops in my head that I forgot to tell you. Okay. So in the My Greatest Loss Turned Into a Purposeful Win, 2021, I said that was my winning year. I was like, okay, God, it's WON 2021. I got laid off.
Wow.
So I got laid off. Unemployment was getting ready to stop. I had to give up my apartment to move back home with my mother. I had COVID. I was supposed to get a job opportunity. That fell through. Then that weekend, unemployment stopped, and then I picked my dad up. He lives in South Carolina. I picked him up from Newark, Penn Station, and then I was having an event, and the next day I found out he had stage 4 lung cancer. Ooh. I was his caregiver for 87 days, and he passed December 3rd.
Wow.
I lost in every area of my life that year.
And that was a lot of grief.
Hello. And I didn't recognize grief until I grieved my father. Then I was like, now I understood why when I had to give up my apartment, that was my personal space. That was my sanctuary. So when I moved back home with my mom, I had an attitude. I was angry. And I didn't know, like, why. She's like, well, it's not my fault, that this happened. So, like, I'm sorry, but this isn't. And I didn't understand why I was angry. But anger is a part of grief. So all of these things that happened, and then the cherry on top of the cake was now your father passed.
Yeah, that's a lot.
What? So I turned my greatest loss in every area of my life into a purposeful win.
Amen.
And here I am. So yeah, I forgot to share that. But yeah, so
Amen.
And these grief affirmation cards, these just came about, from coaching and taking my course, and just like, we need something new.
We do.
We need something new. And I'm only speaking, when I say drop gems, from my personal experience to go forth and help people. Because that's my purpose, to help people.
You need to do a grief journal.
Yeah, well, so in the back of the
journal?
Yeah, I can do that. But in the back of the book, I have a not a notebook, a workbook.
Okay.
There's a workbook in the back of the book, and it's called Navigate the Impossible. And then I ask you questions about, like, what are some common life issues that you're facing? What is it? I don't know how to navigate through a crisis, change, or transition. This is my first experience with the death of a loved one. And so then I'm asking you questions on how to navigate. So, yeah, there's a workbook at the back of the book.
I love it.
Thank you.
She's amazing, guys. She's amazing. I'm glad. Now, how I met Brandi, we're in this group called Grameen, and it's for Latino and African American women, and they come together and they let us, enhance our business, shall I say.
Yes.
Enhance our business. And we need to come together as a unity in our cultures and help one another.
Yes.
So that's how I met Brandi. When Jasmine brought her on, Jasmine is another young lady that I need to have on the show.
Yes,
She's playing me out, right? She needs someone on the show. So her and Jasmine are really good friends.
That's my line sister.
Oh, that's her little line sister. And I have a lot of Deltas in my family, so that's a good thing, right? See, I wanted to be a Delta, but I don't think I can be one. I don't know. We'll talk about that, honestly. But so that's how we met. And when Brandi came on and she introduced herself, I mean, I know other women came on there and introduced herself, but she stood out. And I was like,
wow.
I need to speak to her like pronto. I need to have her on the podcast, like, if not today, tomorrow, whenever. And this is the time, because this is the time that God said that you needed to be here, right? Because I know so many people that are going through things that I need to point them in your direction.
Thank you.
I need to even purchase this book from you today so I can give this to someone that I know that I work with and say, here's a birthday gift, right? I need to buy this book from you today.
Yes,
right, before you leave out.
Yes.
And have you sign it.
Yes.
Autograph.
Yes.
But that's how I met Brandi, and I'm going to do an event, so then we'll collaborate and we'll figure out how the event how we can put it all together, so then people can come if they're grieving and teach people. You know, I would love that. I would love that.
I would love it too.
I would love
Absolutely.
it. And then I really want to bring you on with a man.
Oh, okay.
Because when my very first podcast came out, this was the weekend before the world shut down.
Oof.
And I had the OG COVID. Like, there was no vaccine.
Right.
Or nothing.
Wow.
And I literally almost died.
Oh, my gosh.
Literally. So all the people that lost someone, I feel sorry for you, because I know what it feels like. I know the pain that you go through with that COVID, right?
Wow.
All that. But anyway, so I had one about real men cry tears. And that, and you, that'll seal the deal.
Wow. Okay.
I want maybe 2 guys on the panel.
Okay.
And you.
Listen, I'm here for it.
And
I
me
love
throwing
it.
out the questions, or me just sitting there saying, I need to hear the
love-
powwow. How can you guys, because you have to think, men are so weakened by us women nowadays, because we've come out here and we've taken on the world. We've got all these businesses. Studies show that like 42% of women, black women, own their own home without a man. Okay. And in the workforce, we still make less money than them.
Yeah.
But we're out here striving and elevating, and some of the men are out here leeching on to us because they see our power, right? And we will talk about that. That's a whole nother subject. But I want to have that type of panel.
I'm here for it. Let me know.
We need that because they cry and they need to get their power back so they can stand tall for their family or heal and work things out so they can work it out with their children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They may be grieving from the breakup with the mother. The mother might have not been that great. The mother might have been a narcissist.
Right.
The mother might have been one of them ghetto chicks or whatever that has her own baggage, right? And then he's a good dude.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a cycle. We got to break the cycle.
So there might be something that we might be able to tap on with those men because they need to bring back their power too.
Absolutely.
You know, and they have to come against police brutality and things. We got a lot of stuff that we have to cover.
Yes,
Brandi.
we do. Well, I can't wait to come back.
Yes.
Let me know when.
So I really appreciate you being on the couch with the O Coach.
Yeah, this was good.
Yes,
this was good.
a good one. And please let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your books, your affirmation cards.
Yes. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's Pray the Impossible. Same on Facebook, and my website is praytheimpossible.com. On there you will find my books. I have a prayer jar, I have a journal, I have the affirmation cards, I have the books, I have hoodies, I have candles, so you can go on praytheimpossible.com.
So you got the candles.
Yeah.
You know
and I'm also Pray the Impossible on TikTok, so
yes.
Across the board.
All platforms.
Yes.
She's not on X. I just found out.
Oh, Twitter. Twitter.
I just found out that was Twitter.
Yes,
X. The 70-year-old lady at my job was like, "You're not on X?" I was like, "Kathy, I don't even know what that is."
Yes, X. Yes. So on Twitter, it's Blessed by Brandi. It's Brandi with an I.
Okay.
But yeah.
But you're more active.
I'm more active, yeah. Well, where you will see like more of like me speaking, the books, the merch, things like that. Yeah.
Yes. So again, thank you so much for being on the couch with the O Coach. I want to thank you so much.
Yes, this was a great opportunity. Thank you.
And if you too want to be on the couch with the O Coach, come on over.
Yes.
Hit me up. I would love to have you.
Yes.
Love you all. To the next episode. Peace.